So, welcome. This is episode number 7 of the Teflon Tales. For those of you joining for the first time or viewing it after the live gets over, the Teflon Tales is an experiment I've been doing for the last 7 weeks. Jay Abassi is my guest. He's the seventh guest. In a nutshell, I'm talking to folks who have lived the Teflon life. And what is the Teflon life? Hey, you get hot very quickly, you cool down quickly, you remain non-sticky, and you're versatile. And I think if those qualities aren't at the top of mind right now, thanks to the pandemic, I don't know what is. So, Jay, again, welcome to the show, and happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Ashwin. I'm honored to be here, and I love how you just described Teflon and what it means right now, because you are so spot on. That is, I've never heard you explain it to this point, and I love how you just explained
it. There's always something you want to do, right, for keeping it live.
So. I haven't heard it that succinctly put. That was awesome. I loved it.
Hey, I did one thing right today. Yes. So Jay, and you and I have spoken about this before, and it's something that I want you to share with the audience because I think it's a very, very powerful story. This is the sorcerer, the remote control, happiness. Why don't you start with that, and then we'll dive in.
Sure. So the story is: imagine you go into this dark room, and you see a sorcerer sitting at a table. And the sorcerer says, I want to make an offer to you. And the offer is, I will give you an unlimited amount of money for the rest of your life under one condition. And then, that sounds nice, right? Limited amount of money. What's the condition, of course, right? Let's find that out before we agree to the deal. And the sorcerer says, the condition is that I own a remote control. And in this remote control, I have two buttons, a green button that says happiness and a red button that says unhappiness. As the owner of this remote control, I have control over your happiness. By the push of the green button, you would be happy. If I decide I want you to be unhappy, I will push the red button. But you won't have control over this. I will. Would you accept the offer of the sorcerer? And most people, when I ask them this question, they say, of course not. I would never want to give my happiness over to a sorcerer. And my response is, so if you would say no to that deal for an unlimited amount of money, then why are you accepting that deal right now for free?
Yeah, and there's so much behind that, but I want to kind of bring it to your life, right?
Sure.
And particularly, and the one thing, I'll be honest with you, right? I was looking at your profile and I saw sales leader at Tesla. I said, wow, right? I mean, and then I look at your videos, which is how you and I got connected, and I look at a mindfulness coach talking about how do you find your whole inside before you engage with the work. And if I did not know you, I would not believe such a transformation is even possible. Right? I mean, to your point, Tesla, incredibly successful, doing so well, and leaving that. So, again, going back to the Teflon analogy, is you got hot really, really quickly, and you came unstuck and doing something that you absolutely love doing, right? That's what I see from the videos in your posts. So talk people through, again, that the feeling of emptiness inside, however successful, however your title may reflect the pinnacle of success you may have achieved, and yet realizing inside, deep inside, that that's not who you are, that's not what you were meant to be. And how does somebody follow the footsteps of Jay Abassi if they want to try something different?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ashwin, and thank you for the acknowledgments. What I found at my time at Tesla was an incredible community of mission-driven people, and it was an incredible professional experience. And when it was time to leave, I knew it in my gut. And this whole I guess the whole story is surrounded around intuition and trusting
Mm.
intuition, because I've learned throughout my experience from, the times when I didn't even know what the word mindfulness meant. I was riding on autopilot in my life and just going from task to task, being stressed, being overwhelmed, and just getting through life as fast as I could, to the point where I stopped and I could pause and I could be mindful. I've been able to get more in touch with my intuition. And so it just was an obvious decision to me. And I trusted it. Now, did the thoughts come up of like, what are you, crazy? This is
Mhm.
Tesla, stay. Don't,
Yeah.
like, don't, why would you do something like that? Of course the thoughts came to me, but when you're that clear, you can see that that is fear. You can see it as fear. And it's stealing Jim Carrey's quote, which is, fear oftentimes is disguised as practicality,
Mhm.
where we're trying to justify our reason for doing something, but really the intuition is telling us to go somewhere else. And my intuition took me to leave Tesla. And at that point, I had no clue what I was going to do next. But I went out and I met with different people. And no matter what, though, Ashwin, every interview I had, every time I sat with a CEO, every time I sat with another VP of a different company and they were trying to recruit me, my intuition kept kicking in. Not this, not this, not this. And here was the secret.
Mhm.
I let go.
Mhm.
I let go, my friend. I said, I'm not going to try to grab different things and force different solutions. I'm going to let go and allow whatever comes next to come next to me and see that as my opportunity. And when I let go, opportunities started to arise. People started to reach out saying, hey, I need consulting for this job. I started to get into sales consulting. And then it was at the beginning of this year, I said, you know what? The pivot its time is now. I'm going to switch over to doing my passion, what I really love to do. And since it's been like this energy surge within me to serve according to what I believe is my core passion in life. And when you do that, I feel like the universe just aligns and things open up for you.
Wow. And I just want to recognize Rashmi Keta, who was a past Teflon Tales guest who's on. Thanks, Rashmi, for joining. Um, and you mentioned let go. So this is again one of those stories that's stuck in my head. This is from almost 15 years ago, from an ex-boss of mine, and he had come into this organization and he was making tremendous change, right? And as you can imagine, antibodies were kicking in because hey, people have worked a certain way, and so as luck would have it, we were going to this all hands, and he and I were standing next to each other, wanting to cross the street, right? And I was a product manager. He was the CEO of the company, right? And there was a 180-second timer because there were trains that were going to pass by. And he looks at me, sees my badge, and says, "Hey, you work for the same company as I?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Do you have any questions of me?" And I was like, CEO of the company, here I am, nobody around, and I can ask him anything. I said, "What gives you the courage to do what you're doing?" And guess what he said, Jay?
What do you say? I don't know.
He says, "Have you been to the circus?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." He says, "Have you seen trapeze artists?" And I said, "Yes." "What's the number one quality that determines whether you can be a trapeze artist or not?" I said, "Fill me in." He says, "They can let go without seeing the other swing on the other side in pitch darkness."
Ooh, I got goosebumps, man.
And he says, "I have let go and I'm flying. I'm looking back. I'm seeing people who've been in this company for 5, 10, 15 years who cannot let go because they can only let go if they can see the other side, reach the other side, and then start climbing that ladder. It's not going to happen." So the
Wow.
free fall is how you make changes. So when you were talking about letting go, I was like, wow, this I need to mention this because it's something like to your point. The fear is so much because I'm really good at climbing this one ladder, and yeah, people are telling me, yeah, Jay is telling me, hey, you got to follow your intuition. Yeah, I'll get there when I can get the other ladder, but you can't get there unless you completely let go, right? So one of the other things that you mentioned, right, which is you went through interview A, interview B, interview C, and it didn't fit into your intuition. And that again, going back to the Teflon concept of trying many things and not just settling in. Um, Again, that takes a lot of courage because people will say, "Hey, Jay, have you landed something else?" Or "Why did you accept this great offer?" And sometimes it's well-meaning friends, family, who are also looking out for you, quote unquote, right? So, how do you grapple with that?
I love that story, by the way. I'm still thinking about it. The circus story. That was so good. But I would say when it comes to grappling with the people who do have the right intention, there's a few things. One, recognize the intention more than the potential influence it may have on you. Always remember the intention, because otherwise it could lead to a disconnect in an important relationship that you wouldn't want. You don't want to ruin a relationship because someone's saying don't follow your dream, and now you look at this person differently. Remember their intention. They want what's best for you, and their fears are just coming out in what they're saying. And so if I would hear that from someone who is a good friend and I would not want to lose that relationship, I would just remember their intention. But then I'd say the second thing is to be proactive, to talk to the people who would encourage you to follow your dream, and know who those people are. And I have a handful of those people in my life. One of my dear friends, he's on LinkedIn all the time. His name is Billy Salibi. And Billy and I would talk all the time, and we still talk all the time. And he was an incredible friend and mentor and supporter, and would encourage me to keep going. And anytime I would start to go back with fears, he would remind me to stay on course, to be consistent and keep going. So I'd say those two things: remember people's intention and stay in communication with the people who will support you in what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's so true. I couldn't agree more. I think the community aspect of who are the people who understand the journey you're in, and lots of time I'm going to ask you the other side of the equation, which is I know you've influenced me, to be honest, right? When I connected, thanks to the famous LinkedIn algorithm, because Alex Sheridan and I connected. Oh, Alex, hey, you should be. The algorithm says, hey, if you like Alex, you should probably like Jay. And so in all fairness, I think it was right. But one of the amazing things that, whether it's you, whether it's Marcus Chan, Rashmi, who's here, Alex Sheridan, the one underlying thread among all of you and countless others is the giving back aspect, right? And not looking for anything in return. And it took a long time for me to get there, because this need for, okay, I will, like the trapeze artist, I'll get to the other side, and then I'll look back and give you the cliff notes of how you want to come there, versus no, I don't know whether I'm going to get the other side or not, but I'm learning along the way, flying in pitch darkness. I want to turn back and let others learn from my mistakes. So how do you grapple with that? I'm not perfect, I'm still learning, and yet I can give back without slowing me down, if you know what I mean.
Well, I've adopted a mindset, Ashwin, and the mindset is from a great book, The Go Giver by Bob Berg. I don't know if you heard that book. And that book really resonated with me. I've listened to it. I listen to books. I've listened to it multiple times. And in that book, it led me to develop this. It's like my mindset. I call it the giver's mindset. And that is to give of yourself openly and honestly without expectations or conditions. And I have this belief that I've established within myself. A belief, because beliefs are the strongest thing we have. Your beliefs will determine your course in life. If you have limiting beliefs, that's what stops you. If you have beliefs that you are going to achieve, that's what accelerates you. And my belief is that if I give, I will have a byproduct of receiving at some point. But I'm not giving to receive, I'm giving to give. I'm giving to contribute. I'm giving to add value, because what else is there to do in this life, right? What else is there to do in the time that we have but to contribute to the greater good, to move the human race further along to greater levels of happiness and positivity amongst one another. And I want to be part of that. So I don't go to give because I'm hoping I'm going to get something in return. I just give to give. And if I can stay in that place, I know at some point a byproduct will be receiving.
Yeah, and it's so counterintuitive to what the business world teaches us, which is ROI, right? It's like,
Right.
hey, you're putting so much effort, where's the investment? Here, it's anything but. Now, one of the things, and again, going back to your Tesla days, is you mentioned that intuition guided you to walk outside. Now there must have been crazy experimentation you must have been doing while still gainfully employed and doing remarkably well. And I've asked this of my past guests too, and it's interesting to see how every single one of them without exception were trying out many things on the side versus getting defined by the job, right? And there are lots of excuses, right? Which is, hey, it's a stressful job, and I don't have time. And so how do you give yourself permission to experiment? And I have a story of mine that I'll talk later if you have time. But the point is, your colleagues may be judging you again, maybe the best of intent, right? Hey, you got to be a team player, you got to be on this 24/7. So how do you like what? How did you get to that point of intuition of saying, okay, there is something else out there, I'm going to find what it is? So you had to have done something within Tesla to be able to get to that point, right?
Well, I like how you use the word give yourself permission. Those words are very powerful. For me, I went into Tesla with a lot of already of an understanding of mindfulness and what I've developed in myself and my practices and learning and researching and practicing and going on retreats and things. So I saw Tesla as kind of like this playing ground where I could practice everything that I'm learning on the side, right? Because that's what I was doing on the side. I was developing my practice. And I saw it as an opportunity to see, oh, here's what stress feels like. Here's what it is. Here's anxiety. Here's overwhelm. And I can see it more clearly. But no matter what, as much as, in the years prior, those things would carry me away. I would be lost in them. But when I was at Tesla, and what I think led to my effectiveness was I was in a place where I can observe it due to my practice. So for me, it was a matter of prioritizing. It was a matter of knowing what's most important in my life. And I encourage everyone to go through those types of exercises with yourself. Write out journaling. Why are you doing what you do? What is the purpose that you wish to give yourself? I'm a believer in that purpose is not something that's, outside of you that you are looking for. Purpose is not something that you kind of discover. I think you create it. You manifest your purpose. And I made that decision as to what my purpose was. I knew what it was. And I knew I would not sacrifice it for anything. Even if it was a great job at Tesla, even if there was potential for promotion or whatever it was, I am not going to sacrifice that. So that was my way of ensuring that I would always give myself permission to make the time to keep practicing, to keep going and doing what I knew that I was here to do.
So Jay, one thing that you mentioned, which is incredibly important, right? Which is going back to there is a world that is going to judge for right or for wrong, but then you have this community of people who they were your bedrock, right? You could go to them at any point.
Yeah.
So somebody who's in this early experiment stage, how does he or she go about identifying these people who'll be there for them every single time they have self-doubt or the imposter syndrome or everything else that everybody goes through, right?
Always go to the example the person sets. I think that there are a lot of people who mean well and say things that they think are the right thing they're supposed to say. And you see it on social media a lot. People who post on social media where they are putting on what they believe to be the mask that will encourage others, and they mean well. Again, they mean well. They're just not doing it from from deeply within. So because maybe they're not there yet, and I have compassion for that. I get that. And so rather than trusting the words that the person's saying so much, or, you know, how they're responding. What is the example that they set? Are they living what you want to do? And if you see that they are living it, they are setting that example, that's the person that you want to keep close. That's the person you want to rely on when times are tough. The person of whom you can depend on to give you the encouragement to keep going on your journey. So go by the example, not so much the words that are being said.
And again, it resonates so much with me, and hopefully the viewers too, because there is so much noise out there, right? Everybody is out liking and out sharing and out commenting, and the actions are really ultimately what matters. Final question, right? We are going through unprecedented times, right? And outcomes are going to be different. The fear factor, I mean, life is very, very difficult, right, for many, many people. So, and yet, the words of wisdom that you have in terms of needing to experiment, needing to find the purpose. So, what if you were to kind of look and say, okay, what's the one thing that everybody can and should be doing at this point to be able to get to that next, because yeah, I mean, we live it, you can't control the circumstances, right? But you can control your actions. So what would be the one thing that you would kind of give the advice? Start doing this right now and you will find the way.
Make
Jay is
time.
thinking for the.
Yeah, make time for self-care. And I'm using those words very carefully. Not find time, not in your spare time. Make time. If that, when we make time, we have to sacrifice something else that we're doing. We have to go to bed a little earlier so we can wake up a little earlier. So we make that time for self-care, because here on LinkedIn, we're professionals. Many of us are parents, or many of us have others that rely on us. And those people that we care about and we love the most need the best version of us. So I would say to you, if you're listening right now, people need you. They need you to be the best version of you. So make time to take care of yourself so you can best serve those people. And what are those things that you can do? There are many things. I encourage meditation. Others encourage yoga. Others encourage exercise. Others encourage journaling. I encourage journaling as well. There's many things that you can do. Find your way to care for yourself, and don't sacrifice that for anything, especially when you are dealing with an environment that could be very detrimental to you and to others psychologically. Don't crumble here. Instead, see it as an opportunity to to go within and tap into your greatest strength. And I think from there, you will actually have an opportunity to transform during such a difficult time.
Yeah, deep words. And again, from my perspective, I think what you have brought to the table, I think, is tremendous, right? Because I think you're walking the talk. And again, for viewers out there, I'm saying this completely because I believe in what Jay speaks and does. So your videos are hugely inspirational, and I've learned so much from them. But I think the other piece that you just mentioned, which is I think is not talked about as often, is truly, like you said, taking care of yourself first, right? Be forgiving, be compassionate with yourself, and
Yes.
I think everything else flows from there. So, Jay, again, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure people who watch live should take heed, take action. And again, thanks to LinkedIn Live, and this can continue to exist through the long tail that the internet has. So hopefully there are more people who will follow you and start taking a leaf from your book and hopefully get to their purpose and a more fulfilling life. So again, thanks, Jay, for your time.
I really appreciate it, Ashwan. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody who joined. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.